All right, good morning, traders. Today is May 23rd, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at BYOB Trading. Let's take a look at the charts today, and we'll go right into how I plan to trade SPY today. All right. So good morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody in digital land, cyber land, podcast land. Thank you so much for subscribing to my content. All right, I try to provide valuable content every single day. I provide videos and charts, learning lessons, one-page reports. Try to do it every day. So thank you for the kind words. Thank you for your subscription. Thank you for following me. Again, I don't take any of that for granted either. All right, I appreciate all of that. So my SPY pivot this morning, kind of irrelevant. Maybe we make it back there. I don't think so, though. 583.65 above it. I'm a bull, below it I'm a bear. All of the Fab 5 still in daily uptrends. FNGB and QQQ made inside days yesterday, closing inside bullish traps over their 17 EMAs. SPY, Diamond Dow, and IWM made lower highs and lower lows, closing below their traps but over their 17 EMAs. SPY closed with a 2-hour downtrend and a 10-minute downtrend. Gold in a daily downtrend. Gold made a lower low and a lower high, closing over a bullish trap and over the 17 EMA. Gold's up there doing a little consolidation pattern up in the quad lines, quadrant 4, up there in the bullish territory. So you can see it. It's going through that up, down, consolidation pattern. Look for that. See if maybe that will pop a new high. We'll see what happens. Have to follow the dollar on that one. But gold's looking good. Possibly going to pop a new high. I think it needs to rest a little bit more, but we'll find out. Silver still in an up. Silver started a new uptrend a few days ago. Still in an uptrend. Made a lower high and a lower low, closing inside a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. USO still in a downtrend. Made a lower high and a lower low, closing under a bearish cross under the 17 EMA. UNG also still in a daily downtrend. Made a lower high and a lower low, closing under a bearish trap and under the 17 EMA. US dollar index still in a downtrend. We like that, okay? If we could just get some certainty on the Trump tariffs, you put them on the table, then he takes them off the table. It's very difficult for traders to, for the markets to really gauge on whether they want to get invested or divested. You know what I'm saying? So SPY max pain for today. Dollar closed near 99.90 area. SPY max pain today is 584 with a put to call ratio of 2 puts to each call that expires today. So max pain's probably going to be irrelevant today, being since we gapped down this morning. All right, and then you've got the put to call ratio probably will be irrelevant. The SPY pivot's probably also going to be irrelevant, being since we're already down here at the open gap to the Trump tariff that started weeks ago. So let's go take a look at some charts, see what we got this morning. All right, you can see here's price action in the early morning, coming down to this anchored VWAP 574.67. 577 represents the beginning of an open $20 gap. All right, below we have an uptrend line that I think will probably hold off the move lower for the day. I expect them to probably consolidate there for a few days and then move lower to maybe fill gap. We'll see. We'll see how much further they want to go. Anyways, the game plan this morning, I'm going to take off the pre-market here because it's a little distracting seeing this big drop early this morning. I'm going to take that off, okay? So we'll go back to right where we were. Still battling the cold here, the whatever's going on inside my upper respiratory. So we'll see what we got here. All right, so game plan. Why is this not doing what I want it to do? I hate that when it doesn't do what I want it to do. SPY game plan this morning. Okay, I like 7 DTE, 14 DTE, Friday options. I like the Friday options because they have more open interest. More open interest to me equals higher liquidity. Higher liquidity means a tighter bid-ask spread. Tighter bid-ask spreads means less slippage, and I can get in and out. I like that, okay? So I like the Friday options, 7 days till expiration, 14 days till expiration. I like them on the nickels or the increments of 5, okay? So I like the 565, the 560, the 580, 575. You know what I'm saying? Multiples of 5. Okay, they're going to have more open interest than the numbers in between the increments of 5. All right, so there's the SPY game plan. Let's take a look here. We got 10-minute uptrend. I don't think we're even getting near that today. Okay, uptrend over the pivot, 583.65. Okay, green erases red, first entry, 586.45. Okay, so that's our first entry. For a bullish entry is over, that would be green erases red over 586.45. Don't even think we're getting anywhere near that today. And we've got on the bearish side, we've already taken that out. You can see under the pivot, 10-minute downtrend under the pivot. First entry would have been below 582.45. And you can see in the pre-market here, we already slashed that. And we're already down into this anchored VWAP down here, probably getting close to this uptrend line right there. Okay, so we'll see what happens with today. We'll dig into it a little bit later with the pre-market. I would expect probably a bounce, maybe some consolidation. It all depends on how long they linger on top of that 574.67 area. All right, so we'll watch for them to linger there, and then probably another leg lower. All right, so I think we get another leg lower, maybe possibly today. All right, we'll watch it. Look for about 2 or 3 hours of consolidation underneath 577, between 577 and 574.67, and then look for them to possibly put in another leg lower. Today's Friday. I'm going to say I don't do well on Fridays because they like to, I don't get to hit my targets. Now I did hit this target this morning, but notice it happened in the pre-market. I didn't get to hit my targets on Fridays. They typically like to pin it to a number, and they never even take it to my targets most of the time. So Fridays have been notoriously not a good day for me, all right? But not to say that I can't trade them and make money. I'm just saying that they typically don't go, I don't get my targets hit. So it's possible they head down towards that uptrend line and they kind of waffle around before getting there, and they never even hit it today. All right, that's a possibility that's on the table. Okay, so there's the SPY game plan, and let's take a look at it with the pre-market on one more time. Okay, you can see there. So we could have a measured move lower. All right, let's just map it out to see. Maybe it's on the table here. So we'll take that, and then we'll duplicate this. All right, and we'll snug it in underneath here. Okay, and then I'm going to move this up just a little bit, and you can see that measured move takes us right to that uptrend line. So what's the location of that uptrend line? It is roughly about 565.35. Okay, so we got possible second leg lower. I would expect probably a lot of waffling around here for a couple hours, and then maybe they'll give it to us. Fridays are notorious for not giving it to us, so I'm just saying be careful with that. All right, so if I got a 10-minute downtrend, here's the bottom line. I'm going to trade that 10-minute downtrend till it ends. And then after that, that's it for me. All right, that's probably going to be it for the rest of the day once that 10-minute downtrend ends. Not interested in playing the bounce back. I don't think we're bullish right now. I don't think we'll be bullish at all today. I do think that we'll probably get a bounce. It may bounce back to 574.67. We'll see where they want to go with this today. Okay, but we do have a measured move lower, and it might not get fulfilled till Monday or Tuesday. All right, that's a pretty good size drop from 574 down to 565. That's like almost a $10 drop right there. Okay, it's a $9 drop. So look for them to spend some time right here at 574.67, maybe for a couple hours, probably even 4 hours. All right, and then look for them to start melting it down after 1 o'clock. All right, we'll see what happens. All right. But I would stay short underneath a trend line. Look for a bounce back. Maybe kind of set that downtrend line up. We'll see what happens. So there's SPY on the 5-minute in the pre-market. Let's go take a look at a clean chart here, and then we'll look at it with the 10-minute. That's not what I wanted. I wanted this. Okay, you can see right here. We'll look at it back here. You can see into the close yesterday, the yellow, it's hard to see it, the yellow 3 EMA, okay, is underneath the white 8 EMA. Okay, so that's 10-minute like downtrend forming at the end of the close. So 10-minute downtrend coming into the close right there. Notice they came from all the way up here, and where did they hit? The daily open right there. So there's a 10-minute chart, 10-minute downtrend coming into the close yesterday. On the 2-hour chart, you can see the 3 EMA right there, the faster moving average underneath the 8. 2-hour downtrend coming into the close. You can see right there. Got a little move lower on the daily chart. Got a lower high and a lower low closing underneath. Bullish trap, but over the 17 EMA right there. Okay, let's put the quad lines on there. Let's take a peek at everything. Okay, you can see price action up here in the upper third. Okay, so that's bullish up there. We're still in an uptrend. In order to negate the uptrend, we actually have to come all the way down here and take out this 509 level right there. Take out that low in order to negate the uptrend. That's the first low below the 17. All right, it's either that or we create a higher low, come back, create a lower high, and then come back down through. All right, so there's SPY on the daily chart. Still in an uptrend. Still up here in the bullish upper third. That's bullish up there. Okay, up there in the upper third. We're still up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. We're still up over the midpoint, so we're still bullish. Still in an uptrend, but guess what? We're having pullbacks, okay? We're getting lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. Probably going to be another lower high today looking at the price action, all right? And another lower low, all right? You can see here is the Trump tariff gap that happened. I think that's on the 9th. Yeah. That happened on Monday when we came in on the 12th. So you can see the gap fill is 564.06 right there. That would be gap fill on the daily chart. And we have ourselves a little uptrend line, and they probably work together right there. And if you can see where the gap fill, well, gap fill is all the way down here, 564, and you can see the uptrend line is probably right around here, 570, 574. See that? And that's just me pinning these two lows together, and you can see that's probably why we're waffling right here at 574.51. So we may not even get to full gap fill, okay? All right, we may come down and visit 570.90. We may come down here and visit 571 and then reverse and start coming back up. We'll see what happens. All right, so there's another leg lower, but it doesn't take us all the way to 565. I would expect them to come down here and kiss this this wick right there, which is the high of that wick is 570.31. So maybe down to 570, and then that's it. I think that's going to be it once we get to 570. It all depends on how fast we hit it. If there's still there's still a lot of time left in the day, all right, they may do the full gap fill, all right. But if there's not much time left in the day, then they'll probably just butterfly kiss it and then take off, all right. So there's SPY on the daily chart. You can see on the 2-day chart, okay, we're still in a downtrend. All right, in order to negate the downtrend, we have to take out this high. 3-day chart, we're still in a downtrend, but not moving down. Okay, we got to take out that high to negate the downtrend. That's the first high over the 17 right there. We've got to take that high out there. On the weekly chart, again, same high, all-time high. Got to take out that high to negate the downtrend for the 3-day chart and the weekly. So 2-day, 3-day, weekly, all in downtrends. But get this on the monthly. Yeah, monthly still in an uptrend. You can see price action has to come all the way down here and take out that low in order to negate the monthly uptrend. So we'll see what happens here. All right, we're a long ways off from negating the monthly uptrend. All right, let's take a look at QQQ. All right, QQQ on the daily chart, you can see we got an inside day, which is a higher low and a lower high, closing inside a bullish trap. All right, the reason it's an inside day is because we closed inside the previous day's candle. All right, it's not because we closed inside the trap. Okay, so we closed inside the previous day's candle, so we got a higher low and a lower high. We closed inside the trap over, see these green dots over the rising 17 right there. Okay, so that's bullish up there. Probably not going to be bullish this morning, getting a little pullback. Okay, there's the uptrend line for QQQ. All right, so kind of pulling back to this area right here right now. Okay, so actually they're at the beginning of the open Trump gap. So we could see a little bit more. We'll see what happens. All right, so there's QQQ on the daily chart, still in an uptrend, just like SPY, because we got higher lows and we're making higher highs. See the high over the 17 here? Okay, so we made a higher high. High over the 17. There's a high over the 17. We made a higher high, so we're in an uptrend. Okay, in order to negate this uptrend, we have to come all the way back here and take out that low. Okay. So we're in QQQ in an uptrend. Okay, SPY in an uptrend. QQQ bullish up here, up over. See the pink line? That's the all-time high anchored VWAP. We're up over the uptrend line. We're up over the midpoint. We're in the upper third. We're still bullish. QQQ and SPY. Let's take a look at FNGB. All right, FNGB up here in the upper third. That's bullish. We're over this all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line. That's bullish. We're up over the uptrend line. That's bullish. Hanging out here in the upper third, we've got higher lows. Okay, see the high? We made a higher high, so we're in an uptrend, and we're hanging out here in the upper third. That's bullish. So that's FNGB. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Diamond Dow is making higher lows and higher highs. See the high there? They made a higher high. So we got higher lows and higher highs. They're in an uptrend. This is their all-time high anchored VWAP. Although we probably should be using this double top high right there. I'm going to just move this because we should really be using this one right there. Okay, so all right, so there's Diamond Dow. We're up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's bullish. We're up over the uptrend line. That's bullish. We're up over the midpoint. That's bullish. We're not in the upper third, so that's not so bullish. We're in the neutral zone. Okay? You're in the neutral zone if you're not in the upper third and you're not in the lower third. So not in the upper third makes them neutral right through here. Diamond Dow on the daily chart, okay? But still in an uptrend, still holding those higher highs up there, consolidating for the most part until today anyways, up here. So that's bullish up there. Anytime price holds the higher ground, that is a bullish environment. Whenever price consolidates over prior consolidation, that is a bullish environment, okay? Staying above the uptrend line, also another bullish environment. Hanging out over the 200 SMA, that's a bullish environment. Okay, so there's Diamond Dow. Let's take a look at IWM. All right, IWM, back to Diamond Dow. Okay, you can see they're closing up over this all-time high anchored VWAP. Again, that's bullish, but just no longer in the upper third. They had it and they lost it yesterday. Okay, so IWM. All right, IWM closing yesterday's candle. Okay, just like Diamond Dow. Lower high, lower low, closing under the trap, but over the 17 EMA. Okay, just like Diamond Dow. Different, IWM is under their all-time high anchored VWAP, where you see most of the other indices are over their all-time high anchored VWAP. So IWM here underneath the uptrend line right here. And there's no reason why this can't swing out some more. All right, so there's IWM on the daily chart. Not in the upper third, not in the lower third, so it's just neutral through here. Okay, all in all, moving up, holding the higher ground. That is a bullish environment. All right, we're just caught underneath this all-time high anchored VWAP. We're caught underneath the midpoint, and we happen to be, we poke through or transition through this uptrend line right here. Price action for IWM isn't an uptrend because we've got a higher low. There's a high. We made higher highs. So there's an uptrend there, all right, but just neutral. All right, so you go down, you give it up, that's neutral. Same thing, you go up and you give it up, that's neutral. All right, so there's IWM on the daily chart. Let's take a look at our technicals. T21.22, you can see yesterday was the 22nd. We spent the day meandering around from the oversold zone into the sell zone, into the seller's chop zone. And then the bears threw us out of the seller's chop zone. And we came back to the sell zone right here. So you can see we... Sorry about that. Sorry. You can see we set up a bear flag right there. If I can just put some arrows in and show you that. Okay, you can see price action came down, pulled up, and then what we got here is a bear flag on the T21.22. All right, so you can see price action will probably wind up here in the sell zone, maybe even a little bit in the oversold zone, probably waffling back and forth between these two today, looking at today's price action. I don't expect a big bounce today. All right, given we just got some tariff news and it wasn't good news, so I don't expect a bounce. I kind of expect a dead cat bounce. In other words, a hockey stick. We come down and we move over to the right. That's what I'm expecting today. So there's T21.22. T21.23, yesterday's price action. You can see selling from the beginning of the day and a little bit of profit taking on that selling right there. All right, and then you can see we have a bearish gap down that never got filled. Okay, that's a bearish environment. We've also got consolidation under consolidation. That is a bearish environment as well. See that? Consolidation under consolidation. We are up over the 200 SMA. That is a bullish environment. A pullback to test the rising 200 SMA is normal, all right? It is normal for price to pull back and test this 200 SMA before rising higher, okay? Hopefully we'll get a catch on this rising 200 SMA. We'll see. what happens. So there's T2123. If we back out, okay, of this T2123, you can see that is a nice move up, holding the higher ground up there. Okay, time to get scary is when you see price kind of move up and then move back down like that. Okay, we're not doing that so far. We're moving up and kind of moving to the right. That's bullish right there. That's a bull flag. On the 15-minute, on the 15-minute chart, we're making higher lows and higher highs. So that's bullish. All right, that's an uptrend on the 15-minute chart. Okay, on the 3-bar chart, okay, you can see price action up here, up over this 200 SMA. All right, let's take a look at the 3-bar chart. And on the 3-bar chart, we've got same thing. All right, price action moves up. All right, and it's kind of holding that higher ground. That's a bull flag. That's good. You can see price action up over this 200 SMA, falling 200. Maybe we can get that to hook. We'll see what happens. All right, 3-bar chart made a higher high, so that's in an uptrend finally. Okay, so there's the high, and we made a higher high, so that puts it in an uptrend. That's the 3-bar chart for T2123. That's bullish. We're making a bull flag. That's bullish. We're up over this falling 200 SMA. That's bullish. We're approaching those two prior all-time highs. That's bullish. All right, everything looking good on the 3-bar chart. On the daily chart, though, a little bit different. Okay, we have to take out this high right here to get the daily chart into an uptrend. Okay, so the daily chart's not there. 15 minutes in an uptrend. 3-bar chart's in an uptrend, but the daily's still not in an uptrend. But the good news is we're not moving lower, okay? And we're not moving to the right. We are moving up. So we're getting closer and closer to converting this daily downtrend. All right, you can see price action here. Kind of got a trend line going on right there. And we got above trend line right there. Notice that? So maybe it's a possibility. You can see price action pull back. Test the backside of this trend line. Maybe the backside of this fading 200. Hopefully we get a catch. And then we roll up and we J-hook out of there. Come back up here and start testing these all-time highs right there. Or challenge this low that's between two peaks, okay? That's going to be a target right there for me. Almost got there. You can see we got very close to that low between two peaks. All right, so there's T2123. It's almost there. It's looking good. All right, everything's working out pretty good right there on T2123. On FNGB, all right, price action. Don't look at the pre-market here. FNGB up, holding that higher ground. Okay, kind of losing it today. That was bullish. All right, now you can see we're kind of falling out of bed. Probably going to pull back to this uptrend line right here. That would be normal. Okay, making a higher low, picking up some spinach, get a little mustard on there. Okay, gives us the power to come back up through and J-hook up here and make another higher high. Nice bullish consolidation. We are definitely going to lose it today. I can see price action coming down. More than likely it's going to come down and visit this pink line, which is the all-time high anchored VWAP, currently residing at 1556. I would expect that to probably get hit either later today or Monday or Tuesday. All right, I'd expect a visit to that sometime this week or probably next week. I would expect a visit there, unless of course new tariff news comes out before we get there. All right, so there's the 15-minute. They were looking good, okay, until we got the tariff news today. Okay, so price action was very bullish. We had a rising 200 coming up underneath it, looking like they were building a launch pad, and it may just be that they're pulling back so that they can rip up higher. We'll see what happens. I think they're going to pull back and rip up higher. We'll see, all right? It's just my opinion. I don't get what I want all the time, but That's what I think is going to happen, all right? We're going to pull back, and then we're going to rip up higher. We'll see. All right, there's a 15-minute chart of FNGB. Let's take a look at a few sectors. First sector, XLE. All right, XLE is in an uptrend, but down here in the bearish lower third. So that's bearish. And in an uptrend only because it made higher lows and higher highs. If they take out this low right here, they're not far from it. Okay, they'll negate the uptrend. They're still caught underneath this 12-month high anchored VWAP. They're still caught underneath downtrend line 1 and downtrend line 2. And they're actually on underneath the uptrend line right here. So things aren't working out too well for the XLE. Not bullish. There's other sectors that are really looking good. All right, but XLE is not one of them. All right, let's take a look at USO. All right, you can see no help from the USO. That's the U.S. oil fund right there. Price action still in a downtrend. All right, because we haven't made a higher high yet. That's the high to beat. They failed to take out that high. We didn't get a higher high there. Okay, so we're still stuck in the downtrend. All right, showing a little mini bull flag currently. All right, and maybe that's what it's going to take is consolidation over to the right before we finally do make another higher high. All right, price actions underneath this. This is a 3-year high anchored VWAP. That's the post-COVID high right there. So right now we're currently underneath that post-COVID high. We're in the lower third. That's bearish, and we're in a downtrend. All right, so not getting much help from USO. Let's take a look at UNG. This is natural gas. Okay, still in a downtrend as well. Again, lower highs. Okay, lower highs and lower lows. Got another lower high. It's possible we get another lower low. That's looking like a higher low there. We'll see what happens. Price action. This is a 12-month high anchored VWAP. Okay, not a very high bar that we set. All right. Currently, yesterday we closed underneath it. Lower high, lower low, closing underneath the trap, underneath the falling 17, and underneath the 12-month high anchored VWAP, and underneath the downtrend line. Not in the lower third, but darn close to it, okay? And still stuck in a downtrend. Nothing impressive going on UNG or USO or XLE. Okay, nothing really attractive going on yet. Okay, so it's just not ready. They're not ready yet. Okay, hence the market might not be ready yet. Not till we get a little more bullishness coming out of there. In other words, we're going to look for increased demand, which certainly help juice the market. Okay, but we don't seem to be getting that right now. Okay, so UNG, you can see just neutral and still in a downtrend right there. Let's take a look at GLD. Okay, GLD's in a downtrend because they got a lower high and a lower low. Okay, but they're still consolidating in this consolidation pattern up here in the upper quadrant. That's quadrant 4. Okay, so that's bullish up there. All right, they're in a downtrend, but they're in the bullish zone in the upper third. They're up over the uptrend line. They're still up here in quadrant 4 that's bullish. Looks like they're gapping up this morning. Nice gap up. Price action yesterday was a lower high and a lower low, closing inside a bullish trap over the flat 17 EMA. Okay, still bullish up here. Probably going to come back up here and visit this high. All right, probably going to come all the way up here to 316. All right, get a little W pattern going on up there. Okay, so there's gold. That's bullish. That's in a downtrend. All right, but it's not moving down. Okay, it's just kind of consolidating up here in quadrant 4. All right, it's in a downtrend technically because it made lower lows. All right, but let's face it, it's not really moving down. It's moving to the right. Okay. Let's take a look at SLV. All right, SLV lower high, lower low, closing inside a bullish trap over the 17 EMA, over the downtrend line. They're in an uptrend. See this high? They made a higher high than this one. That puts them in an uptrend. Price action up over. This is a 6-month high anchored VWAP, which also doubles as a 12-year high anchored VWAP. Okay, so price action you can see is bullish. We're on the backside of this downtrend line. We are up over this anchored VWAP right there. We're up there in the upper third. That's bullish. Okay, price action is in an uptrend because we made higher lows. Here's a low. We made a higher low, and we made a higher high. There's a high. We made a higher high. So silver bullish up there in the uptrend. Okay, that's silver. Let's take a look at SMH. SMH bull flagging up here. Not quite in the upper third yesterday. Okay, we were in the upper third up here. Not so much yesterday. Price action is inside day. Closing inside the bullish trap. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line. Over the downtrend line. Just in the neutral zone right here. But in an uptrend because we made higher lows and higher highs. XLK. Price action, higher lows, higher highs. Up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish, as opposed to SMH, which was neutral. All right, we're up over the uptrend line here. We're up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. This is bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, this is the sector that's looking really good. XLK. Take a look at the retail sector too. I think that's kind of well, maybe better not look at the retail sector, only because I just heard more news about tariffs, so don't even bother. Just take a look at this XLK. That's looking good. A little bit overbought, if you ask me. Maybe cool off some. Maybe pull back to this all-time high anchored VWAP, catch, make a higher low. That would be nice to get that XLK. This is on the daily chart that's in an uptrend. You can see, and bullish up here in the upper quadrant. All right, let's take a look at XLF. Financials, lower high, lower low, closing underneath a bearish cross, but right on top of the 17 EMA, over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Again, another nice one I'd like to see pull back and catch on top of the all-time high anchored VWAP. All right, so there's XLF on the daily chart, making higher lows, higher highs. That's an uptrend. And bullish up there in the upper third. Okay, let's take a look at IYT. Transports, you can see they're neutral, not in the upper third, not in the lower third. That's neutral. Caught underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP. Right here at the midpoint, lower high, lower low, closing underneath a bearish cross, but on top of the 17 EMA. So transports, neutral. SMH, neutral. XLF, bullish. XLK, bullish. And that's it right there. Small caps and mid caps, kind of bullish right now. We haven't got a daily uptrend yet on that T2123. And then you can see today, this is with the quad lines on there. Let me see if I can put the quad lines. They're still neutral right through here. Okay, not quite in the upper third. Let me just pull this out on a daily chart. Yeah, let's go all the way out there. Let's take this out. All right, you can see FNGB on the daily chart, not in the upper third. See, they were in the upper third yesterday, but you can see obviously they're falling out of bed today. So they're neutral right through here. They were bullish in the upper third as of yesterday. And you can see these higher lows kind of drifting price lower, kind of pulling back to this all-time high anchored VWAP right there. So we'll go back to the 15-minute chart and get a good look at that. Okay, so you can see we've lost it. Now we may recover this today. I don't think so, but you know, anything could come off the press, and Apple could be opening up a manufacturing plant in the United States, and you never know. And then you see the whole thing recover. All right, so anything could happen. All right, we could recover this, you know, by 4 o'clock today, depending upon what news comes off the press. All right, so we'll see what happens. There's FNGB on the 15-minute chart. Okay, just kind of neutral right here. Let's take a look at the economic package, and I'm going to call it a day. My voice is kind of wearing out here. All right, dollar chart, okay? Making lower highs and lower lows. See, we broke major support. Okay, so dollar's in a downtrend. We like it when the dollar's in a downtrend, okay, because it makes the conversion rate, all right, for countries, foreign countries, to buy our goods and services. All right, so the conversion rate is lower, and that makes it easier and makes us more competitive on the global markets. All right, having a weak dollar is good for business, not for the consumer, because their dollar doesn't stretch as far, but for the business, it's very good. All right, it all depends on your point of view. Again, if you're the consumer, it's not so good. If you're the seller, it's awesome because it opens up a wider range of market. Okay, you get more markets. You got more markets you can deliver to or sell to because you got a weak dollar. On the earnings report today, nothing really notable happening today. Okay, you can see nothing that's going to move the markets on earnings. Besides that, we already got the big news this morning. Max Payne, I already said that's probably going to be irrelevant. It's 584 with 2 puts to each call. Probably going to be irrelevant today, only because of that news we had this morning. And on the economic calendar, we already had the news. Probably, I don't know if the markets close at 2 today or not, but we do have a 3-day weekend. That's going to be nice. Okay, so I think we get Monday off. Monday we're closed, I think. Okay. Yeah, dollar still in a downtrend. Okay, dollar still coming down. Yeah, we closed yesterday at 99.90. Right there, still in a downtrend. Making lower highs and lower lows. Still underneath major. We broke major support. So major support becomes minor resistance. And you can see we went up into minor resistance. And the rubber band action slung us back down. Okay, so that would be major support right there that we broke through. So now it becomes minor resistance. And you can see price action goes up and gets slung back down. All right, so then we got, again, economic calendar. We got, I don't think anything's going to top what we just heard this morning. New home sales at 10 o'clock. I don't expect that to really recover the market. Rig count at 1. I don't think anything's coming out of that. It says SIFMA early close. That's at 2 o'clock. And then Mr. Powell's going to speak on Sunday. All right, and I don't know what he's going to say. With tariffs going on and tariffs coming off, who knows what he's going to say. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference until he gets certainty. All right, I don't think he can react until he gets certainty. And I don't think he knows what's going to be on the table and what's not. Who knows? We haven't seen any negotiations. We don't know if that's put on there to cause a negotiation. So it makes it very difficult for fund managers and Mr. Powell to gauge the future or to line up the markets when we don't have certainty. So we got tariffs coming on, tariffs coming off, tariffs getting delayed. It makes uncertainty, just causes more selling. All right, and then hence we got some more selling today. All right, already. Yeah, already did the dollar. Okay. All right, that's it for me for today. Okay, I'm almost out of breath here. All right, I'll see you guys in the room in about 30 minutes. And thank you everybody out there in podcast land and digital land.